On to the top story that we're tackling at this hour, where a group of students and faculty members of IIM Bengaluru and Ahemdabad have written a letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi about his silence over hate speech and the attacks on minorities. The letter, signed by 183 people, including 13 faculty members, says, and I quote here, "Your silence on the rising intolerance in our country is disheartening to all of us who value the multicultural fabric of our country. It emboldens the hate-filled voices and threatens the unity and integrity of our country." Unquote. Now, in this letter, they've urged the Prime Minister to stand firm against the forces that seek to divide. They've also highlighted that there is a sense of fear in our country nowadays. My colleague Neha Hebale now joins me live on the broadcast. Neha, over the course of a few days, we have been discussing, instance of bigotry and also hate coming from educational institutions. And this is a welcome step where educational institutes to the tune of an IIM from Bengaluru and also Ahemdabad have students and faculty members, and most of them, majority voices, I must add here, have written to the Prime Minister actually questioning his silence over this.
Well, that's absolutely right, Griha. Let's tell you that, over the past couple of days, weeks, and even months now, in fact, we've been seeing and we have been reporting on numerous occasions how there have been crimes owing to, in fact, hate crimes, particularly so on the religious aspect of this. Let's tell you that in this letter, the students and the faculty over here of the Indian Institute of Management, both from Bangalore and from Ahemdabad, have very categorically requested the Prime Minister to take a stern voice against this and to stand up and, speak up for what's right here. Let's tell you that, in fact, what essentially triggered this, it's not one such incident, but we're seeing how, while crimes, particularly so against, religion, against caste, have been on the rise, more so, of course, even in Karnataka, we've seen the Haridwar incident also. And now, these students, of course, asking the Prime Minister to speak up and protect what is fundamentally ours, which is the right to religion, the right to freedom as well. Let's tell you that even in this letter, while, of course, there isn't any explicit mention of one such event that's triggered this, there are several recent incidents. Let's remind you that recently in institutions over here, in educational institutions, we saw how several students turned up in saffron scarves protesting the fact that there were women students wearing hijabs. Those were two instances. A little earlier to this as well, we saw how Bangalore South MP Tejaswi Surya had made a very reckless statement about, Ghar Vapsi and how people should be converted back to Hinduism. He had apologized for that as well. Now, more so also, the Haridwar incident again that we saw. In light of these recent incidents, that have been promoting hate, across the country, the students and faculty have taken it upon themselves. And also the letter mentions that, the Prime Minister should break his silence on this and shouldn't be a mute spectator, but instead should take a firm stand. And, this is, of course, the essence of the letter, Griha. And like you rightly said, in light of all of that's been happening recently, we would only, hope that this probably isn't promoted, because even remaining silent on the issue, is, allowing these issues to be furthered.
Right, Neha, in fact, the two instances that you mentioned that have come out of Karnataka itself, where two colleges have been in question here. Now, these are instances of bigotry on the campus, and obviously we are equating it to hate because that is what it is. Where people clad in saffron scarves were demanding the removal of girls wearing hijab, that they should not be allowed to wear hijab. So things like this, and nothing really has been done. The principal coming out to say that, uniformity needs to be maintained in the college, and hence any kind of hijab or even a saffron scarf should be banned. So that is not what we are looking at. The problem is that how and when these instances have started to come to light back one after the another, and that's why probably we have 183 signatories from the IIM campuses in Bengaluru and Ahemdabad who've written to the Prime Minister now questioning his silence over this issue.
Well, absolutely right, Griha. While most of the country today is, of course, a mute spectator to these crimes that's happening, the law and order situation is something, that needs to be a little firmed up over here. Let's tell you that in both the cases of, the colleges over here that you pointed out in Karnataka, in fact, in the second incident in Pompey College as well, the college has succumbed to the pressure of these, fringe outfits, if you could call it that. Let's tell you that in the second instance that took place in Mangalore, the college over here that had absolutely no issue with girl students wearing hijabs has suddenly now taken a call and said that neither hijabs would be allowed nor saffron scarves would be allowed. And this comes after a group of students associated with right-wing outfits protested at the college. So, of course, to come back to what the letter essentially mentions, the Prime Minister is aware of such instances happening. He's also aware of the fact that, they are on a rise as well. And despite that, the silence over here is what is being questioned. So even in this case, there was no action taken against any of these students over there who protested in the saffron scarves in both the cases. And despite that, of course, it is rather unfortunate that this is happening.
Absolutely. Neha, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. I'm also now joined by Hemant Atri, senior journalist on the broadcast. Mr. Atri, thank you so much for joining me live on Mirror Now. Now, students and faculty members writing to the Prime Minister questioning his silence over the hate crimes and also the kind of bigotry that we are seeing, not just in educational institutes, but otherwise across the country. This is very, very significant.
See, whatever is happening in the country right now, it's terribly unfortunate. What has happened all around in the country, there is a kind of a, insecurity complex growing up into the minority community. It may be Muslims, it may be Christians, although we should not name them. But why is happening? This is the very simple reason, because the Prime Minister and Home Minister, they always keep a mum on such things. See, what happened in Uttarakhand? All these bigots, the way they were, challenging the minorities. This is basically, they are already a minority. If you go by the Christians, they are only 2%. And what is happening around? There are attacks on the churches. In Ambala, a few days back on Christmas, what they did with the Christ statue, they just broke it away. So the issue is, the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, they are under oath of the Constitution. And what our Constitution says, it's secular in nature. The issue here is that due to this Uttarakhand and Uttar Pradesh elections, BJP and its fringe elements, they are hyperactive. They must understand that we can compete and counter the challenges from abroad across the borders while we are united. They are not understanding this. For the sake of votes, they are here for a division, and that too a vertical division. This is really unfortunate, and where they are leading the country to. This has to be understood. Prime Minister is under the oath.
In fact, Mr. Atri, can we call them fringe anymore because of the kind of instances, and you rightly mentioned the hate speeches that were actually given in Haridwar, and also very recently there has been an incident that has come to light from Jharkhand, where in Dhanbad a minority member was actually beaten up by BJP workers. So these things continue to happen. Can we really call them fringe anymore?
No. Basically, they are. You can't call them beyond a point because they have a state-sponsored thing, state-sponsored agenda they are carrying, and that is terribly unfortunate. Why? See, the way the Muslims are being ill-treated all through. Do you think that they will keep mum? Whatever happened in Kashmir in the name of 370, the state was under complete kind of a lockdown for more than 1 year, and to the extent, I'm sorry to say, even Supreme Court is yet to go through what 370, how 370 has been challenged. So these kind of things, they are creating a kind of insecurity in the minorities. And furthermore, if you go, what the Prime Minister chooses, he always chooses to keep mum. If something little happens anywhere on the majority, they are all out for it. And for minority, they keep mum. So this kind of, partition attitude, this really hurts their confidence. This hurts their security sentiment. And that is basically the problem of the union government as well as many of the BJP ruled states. Maybe in Assam, if you see what they are doing in Northeast. This is unfortunate, and this cannot be allowed beyond a point. So they have to understand the way they are taking the country. You see, the politics should have a religion. There should be no politics of religion. What they are doing is exactly opposite. Politics should have its own religion, that every
Right.
religion, every caste, every community, every creed, they are for them. They are there to serve. They are not them there to divide them. And that opposite is happening, which is very unfortunate.
Right. All right, Mr. Athri, thank you so much for joining me on the broadcast and bringing us, those very, very important instances that actually need to be brought to fore as far as this story is concerned. Meanwhile, this is the latest that we are getting you. 183 signatories who've written to the Prime Minister questioning his silence over the growing instances of hate against the minorities in the country.